Hello and welcome to this tutorial for users of Microsoft Excel 2016 for the Mac. In this tutorial we're going to look at working with rows and columns and how you go about updating or modifying a spreadsheet. The first thing I'm going to do here is move the chart out of the way because I'm not really concerned with the chart in this particular video, so let's get that out of the way. And as you know from previous tutorials, all I need to do is put the mouse pointer somewhere near the edge of the chart, make sure the chart area label appears, and I can then click and drag that chart away to the side there. I can then click anywhere to deselect the chart, and what I'd like to do is add an additional column to my spreadsheet here because I want the names of the store managers to appear in column B, which would obviously mean moving all the content over to the right. There's a few ways you can do that. One way is actually to select all the data. So if I go to cell B3, click in that, and then just drag down right the way down to cell G11. So I've selected everything, including the month names there. And now if I put the mouse pointer on the edge of that selection, you'll see I get the hand icon, or the pointer changes to a hand icon. You've seen that before. I can then click and just drag across one column, and you can see the boundary box there that now covers column H, indicating that's where the content will move to. And if I release the mouse button, and I now have a blank column B ready to complete. And that is the equivalent of using cut and paste if you prefer to use the clipboard buttons. So for example, if I want to move that content back, it's still selected. So if I now click on the cut button in the clipboard section, you'll notice I get the marquee box or the marching ants around the border. I can then click where I want the content to move to and click the paste button, and there you see I paste the content and it goes back to how it was previously. So you have the option when it comes to moving content, either click and drag as I've done there, or use cut and then click to where you want the content to be. The top left corner indicates the start of the paste section, and then click the paste button to move the content. So there's a few ways you can shift things around to make room if you need to do that. An easier way to insert a column is simply to click anywhere in the column where you'd like the blank column to go. I can either right click on the column here, so that's equivalent to control click if you have a single mouse button. So if I right click, I'll get the shortcut menu, and you'll see there the insert option. Click on that, and I get this dialog box which allows me to shift cells or add in an entire row, or more importantly, which is what I need, entire column. So I simply select entire column, click OK, and there we have the column added. Now you notice something different compared to how I did it previously is that Excel has also copied the formatting from my column labels in column A. That's something I might not want to have happen. In this case, I'm going to select the cells from B4 down to B11. And over in the editing section on the home tab, you'll find the button there, the eraser button. If you put your mouse pointer over it, you'll see the word clear. Click on the drop down, and you'll see there we have an option, clear formats, which is what I want to apply here. So if I click on that. So with that done, I'm now ready to add in my new content, and I can simply put in the column heading the word manager, which is what I'm looking for, the name of each manager, and we'll just put some names in there of the managers so we know who to refer to when we're talking about their store results, like so. And I might also want to do a bit of formatting just to update that, so I can select those cells, probably go to the border button, apply all borders so it's consistent with the other cells, and maybe apply a different background color, maybe this light orange. So if I click on that, and I might also want to apply the same formatting to these three cells in B9, 10, 11, which won't really have any content in, but I can still apply the same formatting to keep it consistent. And to do that, I'm just going to click on the cell there, B7, click on the Format Painter or the Copy Format button there in the clipboard section. And again, as I move the mouse back onto the spreadsheet, you'll see the icon again. The mouse pointer has the small paste brush icon. I can then click and drag from B9 down to B11, and that simply duplicates the formatting. One thing to also note is that the spreadsheet title there at the top also automatically extends to cover the additional columns. Now if you want to add in more than one column, it's simply a matter of selecting however many columns that you want to insert. So if I'd like to have 2 additional columns where C and D currently are, all I need to do is select any 2 cells in C and D, so basically click and drag across there. Again, right click, come to insert and choose entire column, click OK, and you'll see there 2 columns are now inserted. So basically, depending on however many cells you select horizontally, will dictate how many columns are inserted when you choose that option. I'm going to click the undo button and just show you a different way of inserting columns if you prefer to use that, which is simply to click on the column header and click on C and drag across to D and also perhaps even include E. So what I'd like to do here is insert 3 columns, and I'm simply going to right mouse click or control click and then choose insert. And the difference with this method is that you don't get that intermediate dialog box asking whether you want to insert the rows or columns. I don't want to retain these 3 additional columns, so I'm going to remove them, and I'll use the same process. So I'm going to select C, D and E, again click and drag across those column headers, right mouse click and choose delete. And again, when you finish, you simply click anywhere to deselect. Another thing you may have noticed is that the calculations all still work even though I've inserted an additional column. So for example, if I click into that total calculation in column C, that used to be calculated on column B, but you can see in the formula bar the calculation is automatically updated to work with column C instead of B. So as you insert columns or rows, all your calculations will automatically update. And also, if I bring the chart back into view, so if I click on that chart to select, and you remember that boundary box there indicating the data that makes up the chart, and you can see that Excel automatically updates the chart to account for the additional column. I'll just move that chart away again and just position it just to the right of the data table there, and again just click away. Inserting a row is basically the same process as inserting a column. So for example, if I would like 2 blank rows separating my main store results from the summary calculations there, all I need to do again is click anywhere in the row I want the new row to be inserted, and I can then right click or control click with a single mouse button and come to insert again, and this time choose entire row and click OK, and there's the new row. Now again, it's adopted the formatting. Here I'm going to use the Format Painter to modify that, so I'll use the selected cell there, click the Format Painter button and then just click and drag those 2 cells, and if I click away you'll see now it has modified the formatting. There's a problem just over on the right there that the formatting isn't applied in column H, so again fix that by clicking any cell that has the formatting you do want, Format Painter, and then click and drag to apply that formatting, and that fixes that problem. So there's a few things to watch out for as you add rows and columns, and that often applies to the formatting as opposed to worrying about things like calculations. So just to keep an eye on that as you modify your spreadsheets. Earlier in the tutorial you saw how you can move content by clicking and dragging, and what I'm going to do here is actually duplicate this entire table. First of all, I'm going to get rid of that extra row because I don't really want it, so I'll just right click, in this case on row 9, the row header, and choose delete to remove the extra row, and I'm going to select the entire table from A3 down to H11. There's 2 ways I can duplicate the table. One is to click on the copy button, and you'll see again we get the boundary box there, the marquee box indicating the selection. Click on where I want the new content to go, which in this case will be cell A13. So I'm selecting the top left position for the table, and then click on the paste button, and that duplicates that content. Alternatively, I can achieve the same thing using the mouse and keyboard. So if I just undo that for now, and let's reselect the range there, A3 down to H11, and put the mouse pointer at the top left of the selected range. Again, make sure you have the hand icon there so the pointer changes from a white cross, and then on the edge of that selection becomes a hand. Hold down the Control key and then drag down to wherever you want the top left cell to be located. Again, in this case it's going to be A13, and you notice as I drag there is actually a label that indicates where the new range will be positioned. So if I just put it to A13 as top left, release the mouse button, and you'll see we get the option to move, copy, and I'm going to choose copy, and that duplicates that content again. Now the reason I've done that is sometimes you want to insert cells but not necessarily an entire row or column. So for example, what if I wanted to insert a column of data in the first table but not the second? And it's simply a case of select the cells that you want to insert. So in this case I'm going to select C3 down to C11. There's a few ways you can insert the cells. One is, again, come to the Cells section on the Home tab, click Insert, and you'll see the Insert Cells option here. But I'm going to use that right mouse button option, so I'll just put the mouse pointer into the selected range, right click, or again Control click, and choose Insert. And again, you'll see that dialog. This time we have the option of inserting cells by shifting the cells to the right or down. So typically if you're inserting a column of data, you would move the cells right, and if you're inserting a row of data, you would move the cells down. So obviously in this case I want to shift the cells right. So leave the selection as it is, click OK, and you'll see the result there is that I get a new blank column to work with in table 1, but in table 2 it's exactly as it was previously. And again, if I want to tidy up the formatting, I can simply select all the cells with the formatting that I'd like to apply. Click on the Format Painter button, and this time all I need to do is click on the first cell there in C3, and it automatically applies that column of formatting. And let's say that I've changed my mind, as I sometimes do, and I want to delete those additional cells. All I need to do again, make sure they're selected, right mouse click, choose Delete this time, and I get the option of shifting cells left, up, or add an entire row and column. Those aren't applicable here, of course. So I'll select Shift Cells Left, click OK, and there we have the table reverted to its previous condition. So again, I'll just click away there to complete that process. So that completes this look at modifying and updating spreadsheets, working with columns and rows and adding in ranges of cells depending on what you want to achieve. I hope you found something useful there and you can apply that to the spreadsheets that you're working on. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.